The Life and History of Virginia Woolf by Kaylee DeJesus. Virginia Woolf was born as Adeline Virginia Stephen in London, England on January 25, 1882, and grew up in the town of Kensington, England, where her mother, her father, her 3 full siblings, and 4 half-siblings lived on 22 Hyde Park Gate, Kensington. Virginia's parents were Julia Stephen, a model, nurse, and author, and Sir Leslie Stephen, who was an author and historian. The Stephen family were very high in the English society and well respected in their community. Despite her family's wealth and social standing, only Virginia's brothers were allowed to go to college. Virginia and her sisters were homeschooled by their mother and father. The Stephen family would often visit the lighthouse in St. Ives, England for most of Virginia's childhood, where her and her siblings would play cricket and croquet. She would later recall those memories in her novel To the Lighthouse. In 1895, when Virginia was 13, her mother suddenly passed away. 2 years later, in 1897, her older sister Stella also passed away. The deaths in her family had caused Virginia to have her first of many mental breakdowns. Later, in 1904, Virginia's father died of stomach cancer. During this time, Virginia and her sister Vanessa were sexually assaulted by their 2 half-brothers, George and Gerald. The death of her father and the traumatic experience from her brothers bared too much for Virginia, and she attempted suicide for the first time. She was unsuccessful, however, and was briefly institutionalized. Despite her deteriorating mental health, Virginia was able to study at the Ladies' Department of the King's College London, where she was able to meet some of the feminist leaders, which helped to inspire her later writings. Virginia was part of a group of writers, artists, and intellectuals known as the Bloomsbury Group. In 1910, the group was part of the Dreadnought hoax, a practical joke where the group dressed as royalty from Ethiopia and convinced the English Navy to show them their warship, the HMS Dreadnought. Shortly after the Dreadnought hoax, a writer and member of the group, Leonard Woolf, took a specific liking to Virginia, and the two were married on August 10, 1912. The two shared a strong love for one another and shared the same passion for writing. They collaborated on founding the Hogarth Press and Publishing Company in 1917. Virginia began her professional writing career in 1910, working for the Times Literary Supplement. Her first novel, The Voyage Out, was published in 1915, after years of setbacks from critics, colleagues, and World War I. Virginia wrote a number of essays, reviews, and novels throughout her life. Some of her most famous works were Mrs. Dalloway, published in 1925, To the Lighthouse, published in 1927, Orlando, published in 1928, A Room of One's Own, published in 1929, and many more. Virginia Woolf was known for her free-form prose writing style and experimenting with unusual narrative techniques. She was also known for her views of various social issues. Despite her happy marriage to Leonard Woolf, Virginia began a love affair with Vida Sackville West in 1922. Virginia's book, Orlando, was an extended love letter to Vida. The affair did not last long, however, and the two remained good friends until Virginia's death in 1941. 2 of Virginia Woolf's most famous novels were Mrs. Dalloway and To the Lighthouse. Both books received rave reviews and were the pinnacle of Virginia's success. To the Lighthouse is about the Ramsay family, who were planning on vacationing at the local lighthouse, but their plans were set aback due to weather. The story follows the lives of some of the members of the Ramsay family, as well as many of their house guests. Mrs. Dalloway follows a day in the life of the title character, as well as many other characters that she comes into contact with. On the surface, both books seem as if nothing really happens plot-wise. However, there are many underlying symbolic meanings and addressing of many societal issues. There were many common themes throughout all of Virginia's work, such as feminism and women's suffrage, the acceptance of homosexuality, and mental illness, all of which are issues that Virginia connected strongly with. Virginia Woolf battled with mental illness for most of her life. She suffered from deep depression and violent mood swings. Although her novels had much success, the time it took to write them were the hardest for Virginia. Virginia Woolf had many obstacles in her way, both physical and emotional. Being alive during both world wars took a massive toll on Woolf. To make things worse, Virginia's husband, Leonard, was Jewish and under constant threat during World War II. The Woolf's home in London was bombed during the Blitz attack, and they had to move to their country home, which they called the Monk's House. The tough surroundings and her mental illness are what ultimately led to Woolf's internal demise. On March 28, 1941, Virginia Woolf went missing. Her body was found in the Ouse River near their home almost 3 weeks later. Her death was ruled a suicide after rocks were found stuffed in the pockets of her coat, and a farewell note to her husband was found on her desk. Many of Woolf's novels have been trademarks to all of literature worldwide. Her unique writing style and the ability to subtly address societal issues have intrigued millions of people and have allowed her works to be studied for decades. Today, Virginia Woolf is a symbol for feminists around the world. It is said that her popularity decreased after World War II. However, her writings and messages were used in the feminist movement of 1970. People who read Woolf's books were taken aback by the hidden meanings in all of her passages. Although her life was short, she was able to leave a lasting impression on the literary world by writing what she enjoyed and creating an in-depth look at all of the complex characters in every single one of her novels. Without Virginia Woolf, many feminists, novelists, essayists, and even activists would not have been inspired to pursue what they enjoy and address all of the issues that have been overlooked for so long.